Imagine the scene. It's the break of dawn on April 18, 1943, at Henderson Field on Guadalcanal. The atmosphere hangs heavy with moisture and the sharp scent of airplane gasoline. 18 youthful U.S. pilots wait quietly next to their P-38 Lightning planes in the dim light before sunrise, their features faintly illuminated by the flickers of cigarettes and handheld lights. These aren't battle-hardened experts. The majority have just left university behind. Tom Lanphier is 24. Rex Barber is 23, practically boys. Still, within under 4 hours, these fresh-faced young men from college will eliminate Japan's cherished Admiral and alter the trajectory of World War II for good. What elevates this tale to pure wonder is this: not a single one of them has a clue about their prey. Major John Mitchell, heading the operation, positions himself in front of the group holding a chart, his words slicing through the humid darkness. "Gentlemen, we're targeting a high-value individual. That's your full briefing." The flyers share looks of puzzlement. A high-value target worth committing 18 planes and their teams to a 435-mile venture that feels like a one-way trip. Worth attaching enormous gas containers to their planes, turning them into easy marks should enemy interceptors show up. What remains hidden from them, utterly unknowable, is that 435 miles distant, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto is finishing his last meal. Let's pull back and grasp the stunning twist about to play out. Admiral Yamamoto isn't merely another Japanese leader. He's the mastermind behind Pearl Harbor, the figure Americans revile in every curse. Yet, here's the secret most folks overlook. Yamamoto never desired this conflict. Envision him at Harvard in 1920. A promising officer from the Japanese Navy, delving into economics and oil studies, picking up poker skills from U.S. classmates, visiting American refineries. He witnessed the sheer scale of the nation, recognized its manufacturing power. When his superiors discussed clashing with America, Yamamoto's reply was stark. "I might rampage freely for 6 months, perhaps a year, but beyond that, I hold zero assurance." He was compelled to devise the Pearl Harbor strike out of obligation. Deep down, though, he realized Japan was sealing its own doom. Now, on this April day in 1943, his foresight is set to materialize in the most intimate manner imaginable. At Rabaul Airfield, Yamamoto's team is on edge. His aide pleads for a schedule alteration. General Imamura alerts him to potential U.S. planes nearby. He'd come close to being downed himself only weeks before. Vice Admiral Ozawa proposes a large fighter cover. Yamamoto turns down all suggestions. The reason? Displaying caution would shatter his troops' spirits. Thus, the 59-year-old commander boards his Betty bomber, clutching his samurai blade and a verse he'd composed for his lover, stowed securely in his private locker. The verse's closing words turn out eerily foresighted. "The flesh may weaken, but the soul endures." At the same time, 435 miles to the southeast, 18 P-38 Lightnings thunder along Henderson Field Strip right at 7:10 a.m. Every plane bears 2 large fuel pods, one routine, one extra 330-gallon unit shipped straight from New Guinea. The calculations are unforgiving. They've got just sufficient gas to hit the rendezvous spot, with perhaps 20 minutes for combat before heading home or plummeting into the sea. Major Mitchell guides the formation skimming 50 feet over the Pacific, maintaining total radio quiet. For more than 2 hours, it's only the rumble of twin Allison motors and salt water misting their canopies. These novice aviators are tackling the trickiest aerial routing of the Pacific campaign, relying on compass bearings and visual estimates that would test modern commercial flyers. But the real marvel? U.S. Codebreakers had toiled non-stop for 48 hours to crack Yamamoto's travel plans. They pinpointed his timetable, his flight path, down to him riding in the front bomber of a pair of Bettys, flanked by 6 Zeros. The intel was flawless, almost unbelievable. By 9:30 a.m., the P-38s arrive at Bougainville Island's western shore. Mitchell glances at his timepiece. They're 3 minutes ahead. Flawless steering after a 435-mile low-altitude dash using 1940s gear. Then, as if scripted for the screen, 2 Betty bombers materialize on the horizon, bang on time. 9:34 a.m., the instant that will linger in both countries' memories eternally. Bogies at 11 o'clock, high. The radio bursts alive as the 18 U.S. pilots lock onto their quarry. Yet chaos erupts right away. The briefings mentioned a single Betty, but two are present. Which holds Yamamoto? The Japanese group cruises at 6,500 feet. A pair of G-4M Betty bombers, guarded by 6 Zero fighters. Admiral Yamamoto occupies the first plane, oblivious that his position has been exposed through his side's own signals. In the trailing Betty, his top aide, Admiral Matome Ugaki, gazes outside, likely pondering the upcoming review. Neither suspects they have just 20 minutes left. The Americans jettison their drop tanks and ascend, but trouble hits without delay. One of the strike team's P-38s fails to shed its tank. The plane beg. The assault turns chaotic, compelling the lead pilot and his backup to abort the strike. At this point, just two P-38s, piloted by Tom Lanier and Rex Barber, remain in position to target the enemy bombers, a pair of young college students facing off against Japan's top admiral and his protective escorts. Zero fighters plunge in to block them, yet they arrive too slowly. The P-38 Lightning got selected for this operation precisely due to its overwhelming armament, 4 50-caliber machine guns plus a 20mm cannon. Once those rounds strike the fragile Betty bombers, the destruction proves total. Rex Barber's P-38 shakes violently as enemy fire rips through its frame. Later counts reveal 104 punctures in the plane, yet his cannon keeps blazing, hurling 20mm projectiles straight into the front Betty's body. The aircraft doesn't merely suffer harm, it breaks apart completely. From the trailing Betty, Admiral Ugaki stares in dismay as the command plane starts belching dark fumes. In his journal, he would later record, "I just said to myself, my God, I could think of nothing else." I seized the shoulder of the air staff officer, Muroy, gestured toward the lead plane and declared, "Look at the commander-in-chief's aircraft." That instant marked the end of my bond with him for good. The full skirmish unfolds over 20 minutes, but Yamamoto's Betty bomber twists downward into the jungle treetops mere moments after impact. The follow-up Betty, with Ugaki aboard, slams into the sea at maximum velocity. Ugaki manages to endure, adrift in the Pacific, observing dark plumes ascending from the spot where his superior and dearest companion had perished. On the American side, the novice pilots remain unaware of their monumental feat. They're speeding toward Guadalcanal, guzzling fuel at a frantic pace, likely assuming they'd merely downed one more Japanese supply craft. Already, Tom Lanier and Rex Barber bicker about who delivered the killing blow, a disagreement that would torment them until their final days. Come morning, Japanese rescue squads chop through the thick bougainville undergrowth, tracing the plume from Yamamoto's wrecked bomber. Their discovery would scar Japan eternally. Admiral Yamamoto's remains had been ejected from the wreckage, yet he stayed fastened to his chair. In his right grip, he holds his samurai blade. The post-mortem uncovers 2 gunshot injuries, one to the jaw, the other to the shoulder. Death struck him right away prior to the crash. The examination notes his form discovered in a posture of profound composure. Picture the disbelief surging through the recovery crew. This was no ordinary loss. This was their premier naval icon, the architect of their crowning triumph at Pearl Harbor. The figure the whole country deemed unbreakable. Yet the Americans had pierced his defenses. Deep in the Pacific, 435 miles from base, against staggering challenges, they had located and eliminated Japan's most safeguarded commander. The mental toll hits right away and crushes spirits. Japan suppresses news of Yamamoto's demise for a full month, scrambling to grasp its implications. Upon the May 21st revelation, the country plunges into grief unmatched since the passing of the emperor's father. What renders this tale so poignantly personal is how those 20 minutes transformed everyone touched by it. Tom Lanier devoted his remaining years to asserting he downed Yamamoto. He granted interviews, penned pieces, gained renown as the aviator who felled Yamamoto. Yet Rex Barber, returning in a P-38 riddled with 104 hits, maintained he unleashed the decisive rounds. The feud gripped them for generations. In 1991, 4 years post Lanier's passing, the U.S. Air Force launched a formal probe. Their verdict, Barber, not Lanier, delivered the lethal fire. Lanier forfeited his ace designation posthumously, his victories reduced from 5 to 4. But the profound sorrow runs deeper. These youths never truly grasped their achievement. They'd slain a paternal icon. At 59, Yamamoto could have been their grandparent. They'd erased not only Japan's foremost admiral, but a leader who secretly resisted the conflict thrust upon him. For Japan, Yamamoto's absence felt like misplacing their guide amid a tempest. His successor, Admiral Minechi Koga, remarked later, "There was only one Yamamoto, and no one can replace him." Japanese fleet tactics lost their creative spark thereafter. The consequences stretched well past battlefield maneuvers. Yamamoto's end demolished Japan's faith in their unassailable strength. If foes could strike their top-shielded figure, what remained secure? The blow to morale outweighed countless tactical wins. Admiral Ugaki, the lone observer of Yamamoto's fall, never mended inwardly. He later directed Japanese warships at Leyte Gulf, though defeat loomed inevitable. In August 1945, shortly after Emperor Hirohito broadcast Japan's capitulation, Ugaki boarded a kamikaze plane for his ultimate sortie. He got downed and slain. The final kamikaze flyer of World War II, still striving to this tale, echoes strongly in our time, highlighting the profound individual toll of worldwide strife. In an era dominated by remote strikes and precision munitions, it's easy to overlook that conflict boils down to real people facing instantaneous choices that alter the course of events. Consider the astonishing sequence of happenings. U.S. cryptanalysts laboring non-stop for 48 hours to unravel a single dispatch. 18 novice aviators tackling the toughest flight path they'd ever attempted. A Japanese fleet commander aware his nation was faltering, yet pressing on from a sense of obligation. All of it culminating in a frantic 20-minute dogfight that tipped the scales in the Pacific theater. Yet what stands out most is how this account underscores the significance of personal integrity amid chaos. Yamamoto, architect of the Pearl Harbor assault, remained a figure of dignity who quietly resisted the war's escalation. The U.S. airmen, though inexperienced, exhibited remarkable bravery and expertise. Fleet Commander Ugaki demonstrated unwavering devotion right to the end. These weren't simplistic foes or idealized champions from wartime posters. They were multifaceted individuals ensnared in the gears of international warfare, each striving to fulfill their perceived responsibilities. When news of armed clashes fills your feeds, recall the events of April 18, 1943. Behind each major maneuver, each battlefield success, each lost tally, lie personal narratives of valor, sorrow, integrity, and sacrifice. The past isn't solely about countries and forces. It's about ordinary folks, inexperienced U.S. flyers who never imagined taking down an icon, a Japanese commander perishing with his family heirloom blade in hand, a top aide dedicating his last days to sharing his leader's fate. 20 minutes, 18 interceptors, 2 assault planes, and the trajectory of World War II shifted irrevocably. The valor shown by combatants on both fronts that day, on April 18, 1943, teaches us that true bravery transcends borders. It's rooted in personal resolve during dire circumstances. If this narrative of overwhelming challenges, rapid judgments, and transformed destinies stirred you, be sure to sign up for updates and enable alerts. We're uncovering the gripping, overlooked episodes from World War II, the intimate instances that molded our reality. Which other WBD accounts do you want us to explore? Share your thoughts in the comments, and keep in mind, the annals of time aren't merely lists of timelines and clashes. They're tales of people like you and me confronting unthinkable dilemmas and reshaping the globe. The closing scene. A snapshot of Admiral Yamamoto's ancestral katana, salvaged from the wreckage in the underbrush and now housed in a Tokyo exhibit. A quiet testament to the moment when 20 minutes redefined the Pacific conflict for good.